All right, welcome to our seventh grade orientation. It is a real treat to get to meet you. I am Chris Musnuk. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Kilmer, and I have the distinct honor to supervise Matt. This is my 6th year supervising them, and I can tell you, you guys are in really good hands with our staff. They are top notch. They believe that all kids can succeed, and they are creative and will make sure that your student really transitions nicely to Kilmer. We do have this presentation for you, and it's going to be done by Mrs. Baxley, one of our 8th grade math teachers, and Mrs. Shnuda, one of our 7th grade math teachers. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and take it from there.
Thank you, Chris. As you said, I'm Ruth Baxley. I am currently serving as the department chair here at Kilmer, and I also teach exclusively 8th grade, so that's why Shnuda's here. She's the 7th grade expert. This is my 15th year teaching at Kilmer, so if you have older siblings in your family, it's a good chance that either Shnuda or I have taught them. I actually am a product of Fairfax County Public Schools, as are both my sons. When I started here at Kilmer, they were in elementary school and have since gone through middle school and high school and graduated from Fairfax County Schools and even have graduated college now. So been around here a while. So we're going to do our best, and we were just talking about this. This is so innate to us. This is what we do day in, day out, all these different math classes, but we're going to try and make sure we explain it in a way that makes sense to you all, because some of the titles especially can be a little bit confusing. So that's what we're going to go through is lay out. That's why we call this math pathways. We're going to lay out sort of the different options for the paths through middle school, and then where that sets you up for high school as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. So one question I've already gotten, and I'm sure more of you are going to have as well, there is no such thing as AAP math classes when you get to middle school, right? The AAP, there's another program you can go see at 6 o'clock where Ms. Thornblad is going to go through the AAP process. That only applies to the 3 core courses, which is part of their team, their history class or civics from their 8th grade, their science class, and then also their English class. So math is a little bit different in that regard. These are the 3 courses that your 7th graders will be have the option of taking. There's Math 7, and just like its name implies, that goes through the 7th grade math standards. There is Math 7 Honors, and this is the one that the name isn't ideal. It's called Math 7 Honors, but it's essentially a pre-algebra curriculum, and it aligns with the 8th grade standards. Okay, so even though it's called Math 7 Honors, it aligns with the 8th grade standards. And then there's also the option for your students to take Algebra 1 Honors as a 7th grader. And this is really the only course that I know of in middle school that has specific criteria for entry. You have to test in to algebra in 7th grade. And these are the criteria that are listed here, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. One thing to keep in mind is that an Algebra 1 Honors course in 7th grade is a high school credit class. So again, I know this is small, and at the end I have handouts that has the same graphic on it. You're welcome to pick up. But this shows you the different options for paths that a student can follow. So currently your 6th graders either taking Math 6 or Advanced Math 6. Those are the 2 options as I understand it in 6th grade. So Math 6 will lead you to either Math 7 or Math 7 Honors, and then Advanced Math 6 will lead you either to Math 7 Honors or Algebra 1 Honors. So I'm going to talk about that bottom path for those students who are starting now in Advanced Math 6, and then Shnuda will talk more about the path for those students who are currently in Math 6. Okay, so as I said earlier, Algebra 1 Honors in 7th grade does have these entry criteria, and it's important to note these are not entry requirements if they want to take it in 8th grade. So Algebra Honors in 8th grade is open enrollment, but Algebra Honors in 7th grade has these criteria. So you have to get a 91st percentile or higher on the Iowa, pass Advanced and Math SOL, Math 7 SOL because they're in Advanced Math 6, which is the 7th grade curriculum, and that's a score of 500 or higher. Obviously, they've completed the Advanced Math 6. And then initially students are placed in Math 7 Honors until those scores come in, and then they're moved into algebra. And that typically happens over the summer, and parents are notified.
It's actually, this is a county requirement.
Yeah, that's true. This is not something that we've devised here at Kilmer. These are county requirements. In fact, Amy Hunter, who is the head of math for all of Fairfax County, has been working closely with us on developing this program and more about what Ms. Schnuder's talking about. And she's the one who went through these slides and added a few things. So yeah, that's a county requirement, but that's not something that we've just divided here at Kilmer. And I think that's it.
Okay, I am Jackie Schnuda, and like Ms. Baxley said, I primarily teach the 7th graders this year, the honors algebra class and also the Math 7 class. And we're so happy you're here because at Kilmer, we really find that the students who are placed well in the correct courses tend to do so much better and have really good opportunities through 7th and 8th grade and beyond. So I'm going to talk about the students who are currently sitting in a Math 6 class and the options they have for next year. The two options we have are Math 7, which like Ms. Baxley said, is just the 7th grade standards. And then what the county calls Math 7 honors, but what we prefer to think of as pre-algebra. Okay, so the big question that people typically have is, how do we decide to move from Math 6 to Math 7 honors? Because that is a jump. And what we want to express is that regardless of what course you're in as a 7th grader, if the plan is to take algebra in 8th grade, there will be a course that's skipped. So a student who takes Math 7 as a 7th grader and then goes into algebra as an 8th grader is skipping pre-algebra. And a student who is coming from Math 6 going into 7 honors is skipping Math 7. So we have to think about which is the best course to skip if the goal is algebra in 8th grade. And so that's really the first thing to consider. If there is a goal of taking algebra in 8th grade, then we need to strongly consider Math 7 honors in 7th grade. A couple things that Amy Hunter, the K-12 coordinator for math, wanted us to share with you is that Algebra 1 in 8th grade is needed to complete the IB sequence. I know it's hard to think about high school with our 6th graders, but middle school goes quickly. And we will be at high school soon enough. And so a student who's considering the IB track needs to be in algebra in 8th grade. So that's something to start thinking about from now. Also, Algebra 1 honors in 8th grade is needed to apply to teaching. So if that's something that your family is considering, then Algebra 1 honors in 8th grade is also a requirement. So that's the first thing we want to think about. What's that goal for 8th grade? Do we have a student who is performing well in Math 6 and has passed previous math SOLs? So when we look at the profile of a student who's going to do well in the pre-algebra or Math 7 honors course, we see a strong foundation in Math 6 and we see a Math 6 SOL pass. Now that's hard because we don't see that yet. And so we look at how have the SOL scores been up until now, and what do we think is going to happen on that Math 6 SOL. So we do want a good foundation coming into the course. What does the 6th grade teacher think? And Ms. Baxley and I spent some time talking to the elementary schools and sharing the same message with them. And so we can talk to the 6th grade teachers and think about what they're recommending as well. And with this 7 honors curriculum, and I spoke to the 7 honors teachers before, we came, their concern isn't that we have students who are missing math skills or content. Their concern is more that we have students who are willing to work. Because what they say is, if I have a student who's willing to work, we're going to teach them what they need to know. And so that's really the piece that we need to bring to the honors class is students who are motivated and willing to work hard.
Sure.
So we include this slide, and I won't go through all of these. These are topics that are not taught in the regular Math 7 class, that are taught in the Math 7 honors class, or the pre-algebra course, that are really helpful to have in algebra. So again, if we're thinking about algebra in 8th grade, these are topics that the pre-algebra class teaches that are going to set the students up for success, that we do not teach these topics in Math 7. So we have interventions in place. You know, if we have a student who's in Math 7, we have them right now, they're doing really well, we're going to set them up. We have a summer program, and there are going to be students who move into algebra next year from the Math 7 course, even though they missed these topics. But as you can imagine, it's a little bit harder. It's going to take a little bit more work on the part of the student and the teacher to get them prepared for that course. So why take Math 7 honors? Our belief at Kilmer is that Math 7 honors supports student success in algebra in 8th grade. So again, thinking ahead to 8th grade, that's really a key point in making a decision for next year. The content is more closely aligned to the algebra content. The opportunity to take an honors course, which is not a high school credit course, so that's important. Every other honors math course at Kilmer is going to be a high school credit class. So this one's an honors level course that won't count towards the GPA. And supports, as I said, are in place to support students moving from Math 6 to Math 7 honors, including a learning seminar we have every other day, and we pull students into that seminar so we can do intervention several times a week. And we ran a summer bridge program last year that was very successful, we think, and we're planning another one this year, again, to help students bridge those gaps that are inevitable when we're trying to make the jump into algebra. The last thing I'm going to talk about is some of the intervention opportunities, just in a little bit more detail. I'm really happy to share with you that this year at Kilmer, we started teaching Math 180. It's a program that's been taught in the county for many years, and Kilmer adopted it this year. I teach it, which is why I'm very happy to share that with you. It's a really good program, and the way I explain it to students is that we have certain assessments that show us there are some gaps in the math. And sometimes those gaps aren't showing up necessarily in the content class yet, but they will show up unless we address them. And this is what that class does. We talk about some fundamental skills and fill some gaps that we are pretty confident are going to help students as they move forward in their math career. And Ms. Baxton is going to discuss the other two interventions.
So the second one, this Math 7 honors cohort, is something that we're talking about for next year. If we end up with a group of students who are making that jump from Math 6 to Math 7 honors, but for one reason or another, we think they might need a little extra support, we're going to be aware of them and perhaps group them together in a course or group them together in a learning seminar so that we can make sure that they're missing anything that perhaps they're missing by making that jump from Math 6 to the Math 7 honors. And then at the bottom here, this 8th grade algebra readiness, that's the course that I teach. It's an intervention course. And that's for students who, by the time they get to 8th grade and are taking algebra, for one reason or another, maybe they need a little extra support in algebra. And how I try and run it is like an algebra double block at the high school level. So the students have algebra every day. It's like a second algebra course. So it's no extra content. It's just more time to cover the same content, to get a little extra reinforcement of that content. Sometimes I pre-teach the content in the algebra readiness class. So when they get to their actual algebra class, they'll have been familiar with it already and seen it before. And we also have time, like Ms. Schneider was talking about with the Math 180 software. We don't use that particular software, but I do use STMath and some other software that helps us if we need to be filling in any gaps with those students as well. So we're moving forward with the algebra content and also going back and trying to fill in any potential gaps those students may have at the same time that they're taking algebra. So that's just for 8th grade students. And I think that's all.
Attendance.
One more thing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So one thing, we're trying our best to keep track of what we're doing and what's working and what's not working, and for that reason, we need some data. And so we're gonna ask you if you wouldn't mind this is a new program, we've never done this presentation before. So if we could take your attendance by if you scan the QR code and take the attendance, that'll help us just have records of which parents we reached and if this message was successful or not. They're also distributed around the rooms as well. If you can scan the QR code. The other thing we want to make sure you know is this is intended to be an open house tonight in addition to these presentations. So we call it Math Island. I don't know if you look on the map, but all the math teachers are located out in the modular unit to the back. You can see it on the map. And we do have one of our 7th grade teachers out there. If you want to see some of the classrooms and some of the work that students have done, I encourage you to go out there as well.
Yes, thank you just for coming. So this would be the end of our conversation tonight. Fill out the QR code. If you have any specific questions and want to talk to Ms. Maxey, myself, or Ms. Shnuda, we're happy to talk with you.